Hi everyone, this is Haider Pasha with Palo Alto Networks, and as we've been doing during the course of this week, I wanted to bring to you a little bit more details around one of our key pillars or one of our key strategies for Palo Alto Networks, and that is Secure the Future. Specifically with Secure the Future, I have with me our leader for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, Matt Poulton, who's our VP for the region. Matt, when I think about some of the challenges that our customers are facing, not just here but globally, as I'm sure you've seen. One of the key areas that they're really struggling is the sophistication of attacks. You know, the attacks are no longer just sort of, you know, the worms and viruses or even sort of the high-level targeted nation-state types of attacks. They're very focused on organizations, but then they're also using automation. They're also using some forms of machine learning in order to generate and penetrate certain environments. The second challenge that I see is, you know, when you think about response, that response typically is very manual from our side, right? How does Cortex specifically address that? And can you expand a little bit on what we're doing there?
Yeah, so you make two really good points. The fact that attacks are, fundamentally, we're not stopping them. I mean, round about probably 4 years ago, we saw a huge increase in endpoint technologies. We saw a huge increase in these new vendors coming around saying, fundamentally, we will stop attacks hitting your organization. And sadly, that hasn't worked. If you look at the statistics, if you look at the number of new malware variants that are being created every day, you know, they're being spun up and down in seconds. We simply can't stop everything. So focusing on a protection, detection technique only, simply not working. We need to grow up and realize that actually there are things that we're not going to be able to find. And that's the real problem. Once we can't find a threat, how do we investigate it? How do we actually be able to understand and analyze and say this thing is bad? And then how can we investigate it? And this is very much the Cortex technology. Cortex is, I like to call it market making. We're not just an endpoint technology, we're also a protection technology, we're a detection technology, we're an investigation technology. And that's our key strength for organizations. We can combine data from the network, we can combine data from the cloud, we can combine data from the endpoint, and we can actually investigate it at scale. And the piece at scale goes onto the automation bit that you spoke about. Automation is key. I mean, if we look at phishing, we look at, well, actually, let's look at phishing as a great example. The majority of alerts in a SOC, probably a lot of them are just repeatable alerts, but we've got to identify them, we've got to investigate them. And if we see that alerts are taken on average maybe 8 hours to investigate, maybe 4 days to investigate, we get alert fatigue. So we need to automate that so our SOC guys, our threat intelligence guys, our security teams can actually do the things that they're paid to do, which is that threat hunting and investigation.
Yeah, that's brilliant, thank you. And when actually thinking about threat intelligence there, I think one of the other advantages of threat intelligence from an automation perspective is then we can apply Demisto to do some sort of automated threat hunting capabilities as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, threat intelligence is key to anything because, as I said, malware is being spun up and down within minutes now. We're seeing variants, we're seeing artificial intelligence in terms of attacks, we're seeing machine learning techniques. The attacks are getting more and more sophisticated. So this is where the threat intelligence, these data lake type tools come really, really important. Behavioral analytics. So even if we don't detect it, we can say, well, actually, this is a suspicious behavior. Now, lots of our customers, they have a huge ecosystem of vendors. On average, we see that organizations have sometimes up to 30 point products. I think the record we have is an organization had 200 technologies deployed. Now that's great, they've invested in the right tools, but fundamentally, if they're not using them, it's a bit of a waste investment. So by using a tool like Demisto, what we can do is we can automate lots of functions that may be a manual process. And if we look at an attack, what do? Well, we want to ping it into a virus total or a threat connect or our own data lake to actually see if it's suspicious. Then we might want to execute the code in a sandbox, and organizations may have deployed a sandbox technology. And obviously Palo Alto has some phenomenal sandboxing technologies. Then we might want to run it through a free version. All of these things take time and take effort. But at the end of it, the net result of that is you have a threat or an attack that you know lots about. And that's the most important thing, understanding the data and understanding what's going on in your organization. If we can automate that into minutes instead of hours and having 4 or 5 different people, 10, 15 different departments involved, surely that's a great thing for us as organizations.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And I fully agree with you. I think it's about augmenting, the SOC analysts, augmenting the work that the security teams are doing. And if we can help save time, which is what Demistro and specifically overall that Cortex is allowing us to do, then that's an incredible amount of value that we can add back for our customers. Thank you very much, Matt. Really appreciate the insight. Hopefully this was helpful. And as always, feel free to let us know if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.